Hello, my name is Kanye Kardashian. I'm a psychic time traveler, inventor of cheese in a can, and president of these United States. Everything you own belongs to me, and everything I just said is true. If you disagree with what I just said in that intro, that says something about you. It says that you believe truth exists. You think I'm either joking, that I'm intentionally not telling the truth for the sake of humor, or that I'm mentally ill. The chances are pretty slim that a wackadoodle like that wouldn't already be leading his own cult on a private island somewhere. So you're leaning hard on option A, despite the fact that I'm clearly crazy enough to talk to myself in my own videos. But that's just an act. I know I'm not really talking to a different person off camera. That's what I would say if I was trying to convince them that I'm not a psycho. It also says you believe truth is knowable, and judgments about truth can be made, because in order for these statements to be false, something else must be true. If that's not my real name, something else is. And if I'm not president, someone else is. Unless you're watching this after the 2024 Civil War and nobody is. And if all your stuff doesn't belong to me, it belongs to someone else. Or maybe no one else if the socialists won. Obviously, I'm being facetious. Yet, many modern people say truth is relative. You have your truth, I have my truth. We all have our own individual truth, unique to us, based on our personal experiences and interpretations. And it's unkind to claim anyone else's truth is inferior to our own. And in fact, absolute truth doesn't exist at all. But if that's true, then my opening statement really is just as valid as any other. I'm sure you see the problem. Saying absolute truth doesn't exist is self-refuting. That's claiming it's absolutely true that absolute truth doesn't exist. So if that statement is true, it's automatically false.
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
But it's not just the snowflakes making this claim. Oddly, Jordan Peterson himself. He's kind of like Gandalf for conservatives right now. Totally brilliant, ultra-wise, very respected, but also kind of a grumpy weirdo sometimes.
Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity.
Usually, he's a champion of the truth, but he regularly cites biblical accounts of people like Abraham, David, and Jonah as being truer than true, meaning they apply to our lives in such a profound way, it's not important if they're factual or not. But that's a cop-out. He's redefining truth to mean something else, which he himself says is bad. Truer than true is like saying wetter than wet. It either really happened in history, or it didn't.
True.
So when Peterson does this, he's being true to his disbelief, while avoiding confrontation with his Christian fan base. But this is not good, and we'll see why later. Now someone might say, Gregory, you obviously don't believe that opening statement. That's not really your truth, so it isn't a fair example. Well, that is true, but there are people who truly believe even crazier things. And those ideas have consequences, which we're seeing more and more in our society. People are now being asked, often threatened, to agree with other people's truths, which are clearly, what's a nice way to put this? Super cray-cray crazy bonkers cuckoo bananas. And it's obvious that this favored group of people's truths are being prioritized over everyone else's. So this needs to be addressed.
I know this much is true.
A friend of mine posted a meme recently listing the historical accomplishments of his favorite political party. Some of it wasn't true though, taking credit for the things done by the other political party he was criticizing. I tried to be a pal and let him know his fly was down. Hey man, most of these things aren't true. He said he didn't care whether it was true or not. It communicated how he felt about those political parties. And oddly, his untrue post wasn't taken down, while factual posts by other people have been censored and removed. That's the message of our times. If truth exists, it isn't as important as the way I feel. Or, more accurately, it isn't as important as the way a select group of people feels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really uncomfortable with that language of like getting to the truth. Again, it sounds actually deeply transphobic to me. And if you keep probing, we're gonna stop the interview.
If I probe about what the truth is?
You keep invoking the word truth, which is condescending and rude. I'm saying to you...
How is the word truth condescending and rude?
But none of us really want to live in a world without objective truth. We don't want a doctor who says, maybe it's a tumor, or maybe our x-ray machine just needs servicing. Hard to say. Choose whichever you feel is true. Science guy, where have you been? I haven't seen you since like episode 3. Science guy? Avoiding the truth isn't helpful. It's harmful. And that is not good. The Departments of Education in Oregon, California, and several other US states recently said that asking students to show their work, focusing on getting the right answer, and even grading students were examples of white supremacy. And that's not just a myth. How do I know? Because ChatGPT told me it was just an urban legend started by Ben Shapiro. But when I asked it for a source, it admitted it was lying to me. Do you want one of those kids piloting an airplane? Or designing a skyscraper? Or filling your prescription? Or running quality control at Charmin so your toilet paper doesn't have splinters in it? Yeah, that's a real thing. Don't ask me how I know. No! You want someone who knows the right answers. Someone who knows the truth. Avoiding the truth is dangerous. Not good. And these ideas are being promoted most at secular colleges and universities, which used to be dedicated to gathering and testing ideas to discover the truth. They've now mostly become political indoctrination centers that renounce truth. If there is no real truth, why take out a student loan equal to the price tag on a new stealth bomber just to learn something that your own university professors admit isn't really true?
You never tell them the whole truth.
What are you paying them for? To be fair, some learned minds differentiate general truth and what they call capital T truth this way. They say, yeah, science shows us general truths about the natural world, and that allows us to build bridges, develop technology, and interact in society. Nobody's saying your truth can be that the speed limit is 205, but new scientific discoveries change our understanding of the world all the time. So, an all-encompassing capital T truth is impossible for us to know. Sounds a little more reasonable, but not reasonable enough, because philosophy, science, and mathematics are all, at their core, pursuits of absolute truth. Getting the right answers. When you don't, somebody burns up on re-entry, or implodes next to the Titanic. Aish! Too soon? We shouldn't say it's impossible just because new discoveries can change our understanding. Because when we study, say, the laws of physics, we see consistent, predictable patterns that perfect our understanding, which point us closer to the truth. Who here has done a connect the dots puzzle? Were you able to tell what the final image was going to be before you got to the last dot? Even if you started thinking it was going to be a horse, when you realize, wait a minute, this thing's got a horn. Oh, it's a unicorn. In the same way, we can reach a reliable conclusion about truth by inferring from the evidence we collect before we have every dot connected. But we need to start by admitting the obvious. Truth exists. Comedian Mitch Hedberg had a bit about those superstitious hotels that don't have a 13th floor, even removing that number from their elevators. But
come on, man. People on the 14th floor, you know what floor you're really on. What room are you in? 1401. No, you're not. Jump out the window, you will die earlier.
And a joke about dying is a good segue to say that it's either true that God exists, or it isn't. Either we'll be judged for our deeds when our life ends, with eternal consequences, or we won't. But we shouldn't say we can't know and give up on that either, because the stakes are just too high. We need facts, aka truth, to navigate our existence, beyond just knowing the speed limit, so we don't go splat on the eternal sidewalk. And we can't find those facts within ourselves. That's like being lost in the middle of the Amazon rainforest and then trying to get out based on what direction feels right, which is really no better than having a compass that only points to you. Feelings are strong motivators, though, and it does seem nicest to avoid making anyone else feel bad and make ourselves feel better by affirming others and avoiding confrontation. Check it. Option A, Jesus is a myth and he never existed. B, Jesus was only human. He lived 2,000 years ago, but he is now dead. C, Jesus is God, who became human died, and rose again. He is alive. If one of these is true, the other two must be false. There's no wiggle room to accept more than one of them. And whichever one you believe will put you at odds with anyone who believes the others. Jesus did see this coming, though, and said as much in Matthew 10:35. Conflict doesn't feel good, so we avoid it. Except you Enneagram 8s, you jerks. Denying absolute truth means we aren't making anyone else feel bad by saying they're wrong. We also don't have to defend our own views, and we get to scold anyone who tries to tell us our truth is wrong. But pushing our truth on other people isn't unkind if it's, true.
You want the true?
An atheist once told me, if Christianity works for you, that's fine. That's your truth. But don't tell it to your kids. Just maybe when they're older, let them know that this is what you believe and let them decide for themselves. I had to explain, he wasn't getting it. I don't think Christianity is my truth. I think it's the truth. All of us are responsible for our own relationships with God, but if I really believe Christianity is true, that means I'm convinced my kids will spend eternity in torment apart from God without Jesus. Like I'm actually going to agree to not tell them that. Not tell everyone that this is real, this is true. Telling you the truth is the most loving thing I can possibly do. The Bible says in Proverbs 27:5 that true friends are willing to give us painful advice, even when it's difficult, and that people who only tell us what we want to hear are actually enemies. We love people best by telling them the truth. And pretending the truth doesn't exist only leaves us with harmful lies, danger, confusion, and nonsense. And that is not good. The truth is, eternity is on the line, and that lasts forever. I hope you choose wisely and keep on thinking to infinity.